Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a massive story coming out of Dallas, and honestly, this is the kind of move that can completely change the identity of a team. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys signing future Hall of Famer Bobby Wagner to form what might be the scariest defense in the entire NFL. Yeah, you heard that right. Bobby Wagner, one of the best linebackers of this generation, is heading to Dallas to join forces with Micah Parsons, Trevon Diggs, Daron Bland, and that already nasty front. So in this video, we're going to break down exactly what this means for the Cowboys, how Wagner fits into this defense, how it changes the outlook for the NFC, and whether this is finally the move that pushes Dallas over the hump from playoff team to true Super Bowl contender. Stick around, because there is a lot to unpack here, and Cowboys fans should be excited about what this could look like on the field this season. First, let's set the stage. The Cowboys have had one of the better defenses in the league over the last few seasons, especially after Micah Parsons came in and completely transformed the pass rush. They've been top tier in pressure rate, takeaways, and they've had moments where they look absolutely dominant. But if we're being honest, there have still been obvious holes, especially when it comes to stopping the run and in the middle of the field. We've seen it in playoff games, we've seen it against physical offenses. Teams decide they're just going to line up, run the ball straight at Dallas, attack the linebackers, and wear them down. That's where Bobby Wagner comes in. The Cowboys are not just adding a linebacker, they're adding one of the best run-stopping, most instinctive middle linebackers in the last decade. For anyone who hasn't followed Bobby Wagner closely, let's talk about who this guy actually is. Wagner is an 8-time All-Pro, multiple-time Pro Bowler, and Super Bowl champion with the Seattle Seahawks. He was the heartbeat of the Legion of Boom defense, the guy in the middle making all the calls, getting everybody lined up, and then blowing up plays in the backfield. Even late in his career, he's not some washed-up veteran just hanging around. He's still been incredibly productive. We're talking about a guy who racks up 130, 140, sometimes even 150 tackles in a season, consistently. He diagnoses runs quickly, shoots gaps, and when he hits you, you go down. He doesn't miss a lot of tackles, and that has been something the Cowboys have struggled with at times in big moments. On top of that, he brings a level of leadership and experience that you simply cannot teach. He's seen every formation, every motion, every trick an offense is going to throw at you. Imagine that presence in the middle of a young, fast, aggressive defense that sometimes plays a little bit out of control. Wagner is the type of veteran who can calm everything down pre-snap, communicate, and make sure everyone is on the same page. That's huge in the playoffs, when one blown assignment can end your season. Dallas has needed that grown man presence in the middle for a long time, and now they finally have it. Now let's talk about the fit next to Micah Parsons, because this is where it really gets scary. Micah Parsons is one of the most disruptive defenders in the entire league. He's an elite pass rusher, but he's also athletic enough to drop into coverage, chase plays sideline to sideline, and create havoc from anywhere on the field. The problem is, Dallas has sometimes had to ask Micah to be everything all at once: edge rusher, off-ball linebacker, spy, coverage guy. When you do that, you end up sacrificing something, and it also wears him down over the course of a full season. With Bobby Wagner coming in, there's finally a true, reliable, every-down presence in the middle of the defense. That means the Cowboys can unleash Parsons even more as a pure pass rusher when they want to, without worrying that the middle of the field is going to fall apart behind him. Think about third down. You put Wagner in the middle, calling the signals, making sure everyone knows their assignment, and then you move Parsons around to find the best matchup. Over the guard, over the tackle, standing up in the A-gap, looping around the edge. Offenses are going to have to pick their poison. Do you double Micah Parsons and leave someone else one-on-one? Or do you try to protect the interior and risk Parsons wrecking the edge? And now, If they try to run draws or screens to slow down the pass rush, Bobby Wagner is right there reading it and shutting it down. That's the kind of complementary effect this signing can have. Wagner doesn't just help at linebacker, he helps unlock even more from Micah Parsons, and that's a scary thought for offensive coordinators around the league. Let's go a little deeper into how Wagner changes the run defense. One of the big criticisms of the Cowboys in recent years has been that when they face a team that can line up and run it down your throat, they don't always have an answer. We've seen games where opposing backs are falling forward for extra yards, linebackers are getting caught out of position, and runs that should be 2 or 3 yards are turning into 6, 7, 8 yards. Bobby Wagner's biggest strength is his ability to read blocking schemes and get to the right spot before the lineman can get to the second level. He understands leverage, he stays square, and he rarely gets washed out of a play. That means those runs that used to go for 7 now go for 2 or 3, and suddenly your defense is playing in favorable down and distance situations. You also have to factor in his communication. In the run game, a lot of mistakes happen because of miscommunication. Two guys fill the same gap, or nobody scrapes over the top, or the linebackers and safeties don't fit together properly. Wagner has been the guy setting those fits for years on elite defenses. He's going to be in the film room, in the meeting room, making sure the younger guys understand exactly what they're looking at. That doesn't show up on a stat sheet, but it absolutely shows up on Sundays when you see 11 guys flowing in unison to the ball. Now, let's talk coverage, because that's another area where this move is big. The modern NFL is all about attacking the middle of the field. Quick slants, crossers, option routes from the slot, tight ends up the seam, running backs on angle routes. If your linebackers can't cover or can't anticipate routes, you're going to get picked apart. Wagner, even in the later stages of his career, is still a very smart zone coverage player. He knows how to read the quarterback's eyes, he understands route combinations, and he takes away those easy throwing lanes. He might not be the same pure athlete he was at 25, but he makes up for it with elite instincts and film study. And remember, you don't need him to run with Tyreek Hill in the slot. You need him to be in the right windows, pass off routes, and make sure the tight end doesn't just run free all game. Imagine an offense trying to attack this secondary. On the outside, you've got Trevon Diggs, who is one of the best ball-hawking corners in the league. He's going to jump routes. He's going to make quarterbacks think twice about certain throws. Then you've got Darren Bland, who just set records for pick sixes and showed he can turn any mistake into 6 points the other way. Add in the pass rush from Parsons and that front, and now add Bobby Wagner sitting in the middle, ready to capitalize on tipped balls, bad decisions, or late throws over the middle. Turnovers come from pressure, plus coverage, plus anticipation. And Wagner adds another layer of that anticipation element in the heart of the field. We should also talk about how this impacts the overall mentality of the Dallas Cowboys defense. For years, the narrative around Dallas has been that they're flashy, they've got stars, they'll put up highlights, but when it comes down to those gritty, tough playoff games, the more physical team usually wins. Bobby Wagner, coming from those old-school Seahawks defenses, brings a different edge. He's a tone setter. He's not about the flashy quotes, he's about doing the dirty work, being prepared, and setting a physical standard. When a guy like that walks into the locker room, people listen. Younger players are going to watch how he practices, how he studies, how he takes care of his body. That raises the standard across the board. It also gives the Cowboys a voice in the huddle that has seen what it takes to win a Super Bowl. He's been on that stage. When you get to the playoffs, especially for a franchise like Dallas, that's been desperate to get back to the NFC Championship game, having a veteran who can say, "I've been here, I know what it takes, do your job and trust the system," that matters. That provides calm during chaos. And if you look at some of the playoff exits Dallas has had, a lot of them involved moments where things just spiraled. Penalties, blown coverages, mental mistakes. Wagner doesn't fix everything by himself, but he is exactly the type of presence you want to help stabilize those moments. From a scheme standpoint, depending on who's calling the defense and how they want to use him, Bobby Wagner opens up a ton of flexibility. You can keep him on the field in base and nickel. You can have him as the true Mike linebacker, with Parsons playing more as an edge or as a hybrid piece. You can also bring more simulated pressures, knowing that Wagner is capable of dropping into coverage and disguising looks. Quarterbacks might see him walked up like he's going to blitz, but then he drops back into that middle zone, and suddenly that quick slant is not so open. That kind of disguised pressure plus smart zone defense is what separates good defenses from elite ones. We also need to talk about how this move compares to what other teams in the NFC are doing, because roster building is always relative. You look at the top teams in the conference, the 49ers, the Eagles, the Lions, teams like that. They all have strong fronts and players in the middle who can control the game. The Niners have Fred Warner, one of the best linebackers in the league. The Eagles have invested heavily in their defensive line. The Lions are building a physical identity. For Dallas to keep up, they needed a true presence in the second level who can go toe-to-toe with those types of players. Bobby Wagner is that guy. He's Dallas's answer to the Fred Warners and the Roquan Smiths of the world. That field general in the middle who can match up with elite offenses and not get overwhelmed. Now, let's look at this from the perspective of expectations. Anytime the Cowboys make a big move, the hype goes crazy. People are going to say, "This is it. Dallas is going to the Super Bowl. This is the year." And of course, we've heard that before. But in this case, it's fair to say that adding Wagner objectively raises the ceiling of this defense. You're taking a unit that was already very good and shoring up one of its biggest weaknesses with a proven star. There's no project here, no, maybe he develops, no, if he stays healthy and learns the system. Wagner knows how to play at a high level right now. The only caveat is age, but even with that, he's shown he can still play at a very high level late into his career. And even if he takes a small step back physically, the mental side of his game is so strong that he's still going to be impactful. Of course, we also have to be realistic and mention the potential questions and concerns. Number 1, age and mileage. Wagner has a lot of snaps under his belt. Can he hold up for a full season and a playoff run, playing heavy snaps in the middle of a very aggressive defense? The Cowboys are going to have to manage his workload, rotate him when they can, and make sure they don't burn him out by week 12. Number 2, how quickly can he fully integrate into the scheme? Even though he's an extremely smart player, every defense has its own language, its own adjustments. The good news is that veteran linebackers like him typically pick that up pretty fast. And number 3, how does this impact the growth of some of the younger linebackers on the roster? In my opinion, this actually helps them, because learning behind a guy like Wagner is invaluable. They can develop without being thrown into the fire as the number 1 guy right away. From a front office standpoint, this move also says a lot about where the Cowboys believe they are in their competitive window. You don't sign a player like Bobby Wagner if you're rebuilding or just happy to make the playoffs. You sign him because you believe your team is close, and you need a few final pieces to make a real push. The Cowboys are signaling, "We're all in on making this defense elite, not just good." It's a win-now move. And when you pair that with an offense that still has Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and a solid supporting cast, you start to see a balanced team that, on paper, should be able to compete with anyone in the league. Let's also consider how opposing offenses will game plan for this new-look Cowboys defense. Before, the blueprint for a lot of teams was, try to neutralize Micah Parsons as much as possible, run right at the Cowboys, and attack the middle of the field with quick passes. That was the formula. Now, if you run at Dallas, you've got Wagner waiting. If you try those quick in-breaking routes, you're throwing into zones patrolled by Wagner, with ball hawks like Diggs and Bland ready to jump anything that's off target. And if you try to drop back and take deep shots, you're holding the ball longer, which is exactly what you don't want to do against a pass rush with Parsons and company. Essentially, Wagner helps take away some of the easy answers that offenses had against this defense. So let's wrap this up. The Dallas Cowboys signing Bobby Wagner is a massive, franchise-shifting move for this defense. You get a future Hall of Famer, an elite run defender, a brilliant communicator, and a proven leader to pair with one of the most dominant young defenders in the league in Micah Parsons. You stabilize the middle of the field, you improve the run defense, you increase your ability to disguise coverages, and you raise the floor and ceiling of your entire unit. If everything clicks, this Cowboys defense has a very real chance to be the scariest in the NFL this season, and that should put the rest of the NFC on notice. If you're a Cowboys fan, let me know in the comments. How excited are you about this move? Do you think Bobby Wagner is the missing piece this defense needed? Or do you still want to see more additions before you're ready to say, this is a Super Bowl level unit? And if you're a fan of another NFC team, be honest, does this signing change how you feel about playing Dallas this year? If you enjoyed this breakdown and you want more deep dives on the biggest moves around the league, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads. We'll be covering all the latest NFL news, roster moves, and in-depth film-style analysis of how these signings really impact what you see on Sundays. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.